It may sound ridiculous to believe today, but there was a time when many American cities had so-called ugly laws that made it illegal for anyone who was considered deformed or a bit unsightly to appear in public. It was not an urban legend. It was the law. And in this video, we're going to show some of the most amazing human beings ever recorded. People whose unreal looks and unbelievable lives left everyone asking, how is that even possible? So, if you think you've already seen the weirdest things on Earth, stay tuned. These people will blow your mind. Number 15. Yvonne and Yvette. The twin sisters, the moment Yvonne and Yvette MacArthur were born in 1949, doctors were already convinced their future had been written. That's because the sisters were joined at the top of their skulls, a condition so rare that few believed they would survive. We mean, let alone live normal lives. The predictions were bleak. They were expected to struggle with learning, never walk on their own, and spend their lives depending on other people. But none of those happened. Their IQs tested above average, and, against every expectation, both girls learned to walk independently. Mounting medical bills briefly led them to tour with the Royal American Circus for about 6 months. But the spotlight was never where they truly belonged. Gospel music was. They spent years traveling together, singing across the country and inspiring audiences with a bond few could understand. By 1987, they were living peacefully in their own apartment. Their lives ended unexpectedly in 1992. But they left behind something far greater than headlines, a story of faith, resilience, and two sisters who refused to let anyone else decide what they were capable of. Number 14. Somali woman gave birth to a snake. This story sounds totally made up, and if someone told you it happened without any proof, you'd probably laugh it off. But in 2014, reports from Somalia claimed a lady from the Afguyi district near Mogadishu had given birth to twins, but only one of them was human. The other was described as a small black snake. According to relatives, the reptile never showed any aggression. They even claimed it stayed close to the family, often curling up beside the newborn boy and hiding whenever strangers entered the house. To the parents, this wasn't a curse, but a gift from God. Stories like this have surfaced for centuries. Old medical records mention women giving birth to creatures resembling monsters. Cyclopes, dogs, rabbits, and lizards. Science has never confirmed any of those claims. In many cases, doctors point to severe birth defects, misunderstandings, or false pregnancies. Whether it was a miracle, a myth, or misidentification, one thing is certain: the tale still leaves people arguing over what really happened. It's bizarre. Number 13. James, the Ohio fat boy back in the late 1800s, looking different could put food on the table. It wasn't because life was easy. It was because people would pay to see anything they had never seen before. That reality shaped the life of R.J. James from Wayne County. By the 1880s, he weighed 500 pounds, a size that earned him the stage name the Fat Boy of Ohio. He performed at Drew's Dime Museum in Cleveland, later traveled with the Sells Brothers Circus, and his famous Eisenman photographs suggest he also appeared in New York's Bowery Dime Museums. Crowds lined up simply to stare. Today, someone his size would probably attract far less attention, which says plenty about how much the world has changed. For James, though, his weight wasn't just what people noticed first. It became his livelihood. Performing wasn't about fame or applause. It was how he made a living in a time when very few opportunities existed for someone who looked like him. Number 12. Angus Barbieri. After a heavy meal, most of us start feeling hungry again within a few hours. Angus turned that idea upside down. In 1965, the 27-year-old Scotsman walked into Dundee's Royal Infirmary weighing about 207 kilograms and asked doctors to help him lose weight through fasting. They expected the experiment to last only a short time. Instead, It continued for 382 days without a single solid meal. Throughout the fast, Angus lived on water, black tea, black coffee, sparkling water, and carefully prescribed vitamins and minerals while doctors monitored him with regular examinations and blood tests. His body gradually relied on its own fat reserves, allowing him to lose roughly 125 kilograms before finally reaching his goal weight. When the fast ended, his first meal was surprisingly simple, a boiled egg with a slice of bread and butter, which he said he thoroughly enjoyed. Even 5 years later, he had managed to keep most of the weight off, making his fast one of the most extraordinary and otherworldly medical cases ever documented. Number 11. Albert E. Herpen of Trenton. Most of us know Tai Ngok as the man who claimed he hadn't slept for many decades. But long before his story made headlines, though, another name had already puzzled doctors. Albert E. Herpen of Trenton, New Jersey, insisted he had gone roughly 30 years without sleeping at all. According to newspaper reports from 1912, he didn't spend his nights lying awake in bed wishing for sleep. He simply didn't feel the need for it. Instead, he relaxed in an armchair for a few hours, read newspapers, and carried on with his work as a pottery maker and decorator without ever appearing exhausted. Friends claimed they never saw him drowsy, and doctors struggled to explain how he functioned so normally. Herpen believed sleep wasn't necessary and even joked that he hated the idea of wasting part of his life unconscious. Whether his condition began after his wife's death or had existed since birth remains uncertain. He lived until 1947, taking the mystery with him and leaving doctors without a convincing explanation. Number 10. Ewing. The Missouri Giantess life has a strange way of deciding our path long before we have any say in it. For Ella Ewing, that path began in the quiet town of Gorin, Missouri, where she was born in 1872. Everything seemed ordinary until she was about 9 years old, when her body started growing at an astonishing pace. Eventually, her height was said to exceed 8 feet, although some believed she stood a little shorter. Either way, she was unlike anyone most people had ever seen. Her deeply religious parents refused early offers to exhibit her, but as an adult, Ella finally agreed. On one condition: they would travel with her. Known everywhere as the Missouri Giantess, she appeared in dime museums, the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, Barnum and Bailey, Sells Floto, and Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. Wise with her earnings, she built a home with extra-high ceilings designed for her comfort. She retired financially secure, and although illness claimed her life in 1913, she left behind a reputation built on dignity, good judgment, and quiet determination. Number 9. Fyodor Makhnov. We all know the name Wadlow, the tallest man ever officially recorded. But decades before him, another giant was already captivating crowds across Europe. His name was Fyodor, and many still believe he may have been even taller than Robert, despite never making it into the record books. Born in what is now Belarus in 1878, Fyodor began growing at an insane rate when he was just 8. By 14, he already stood around 6 feet 7 inches tall, and he continued growing until many estimates placed him at nearly 8 feet 2 inches. Ordinary life simply wasn't built for someone his size. His clothes, shoes, and even his bed had to be specially made, while local children reportedly hid inside his enormous boots during games. Although the circus made him famous, scientists were just as eager to meet him, repeatedly asking for the rights to study his body after death. Fyodor always refused, unwilling to let curiosity decide his fate. Number 8. Petrus Gonsalves. Back in the 1500s, being born different could completely change the course of your life, and not always for the better. Petrus Gonsalves never had the chance to choose his own path. Born with hypertrichosis, a rare condition that covered much of his face and body with thick hair, he was mistaken for some kind of wild creature as a child. Instead of growing up at home, he was sent to the court of King Henry II of France. Once physicians examined him, they quickly realized there was nothing monstrous about Petrus. He was an intelligent young boy who simply looked different. Rather than treating him like an animal, the royal household educated him in Latin, court etiquette, and military studies. He later married Catherine, and together they had 7 kids, 4 of whom inherited the same condition. Across Europe, people became fascinated by what newspapers called the hairy family. But behind the portraits and gossip was simply a family. Number 7. The man who woke up from the dead, then find if there's one thing every one of us hopes never happens. It's being declared dead while we're still very much alive. But that's exactly what happened to an unidentified traveler in Hundred, West Virginia, back in 1901. Found lying motionless on a sidewalk around 3 o'clock in the morning, the man was examined by 2 doctors, pronounced dead, and taken straight to the local undertaker. The story should have ended there. Instead, it took a turn nobody expected. The corpse suddenly sat upright and began singing at the top of his lungs. You might think everyone apologized for the mistake, but they didn't. The town coroner, who also happened to be the mayor, had the man arrested instead. His crime? Disturbing the peace with his singing. To make matters even stranger, he was ordered to pay a $5 fine. Waking up from the dead was bizarre enough. Getting punished for it somehow made the whole story even harder to believe. Number 6. Major Marie Rossi Well. Not every incredible person earns attention because of the way they look. Some leave their mark through the choices they make when everyone else is running the opposite direction. Major Marie Rossi was one of those people. As a helicopter pilot with the U.S. Army's 101st Airborne Division, she flew missions during Operation Desert Storm, carrying fuel, ammunition, and other critical supplies to troops pushing deeper into enemy territory. It wasn't the kind of job that filled newspaper headlines, but countless soldiers depended on it. Then, on March 1st, 1991, tragedy struck when her helicopter crashed, ending her life at just 31 years old. Marie became one of the first American women to take part in an air assault deep inside enemy territory, helping open doors for many who followed. Today, she rests at Arlington National Cemetery, but her legacy reaches far beyond a headstone. She may not have had superpowers, but she was as super as one can be. What do you think about her? Drop your comments below. Number 5. Albert Alberta Karras. Long before people openly talked about gender identity, one stage performer had already built an entire career around making audiences question what they were seeing. Albert Alberta Karras became one of the most talked about attractions of the 1920s, although almost everything about the performer was wrapped in mystery. Some insisted Karras was intersex. Others believed it was Harry Caro, a remarkably talented impersonator. Nobody seemed completely certain, and that uncertainty only filled more seats. The advertising was impossible to ignore. One side showed a sharply dressed gentleman, while the other revealed an elegantly dressed woman, split perfectly down the middle as though 2 different people shared the same body. Touring with showman Bobby Reynolds, Karras appeared at famous venues including Hubert's Museum in Times Square and theaters across the Luz Circuit. The performance wasn't built on tricks alone. It challenged expectations at a time when simply blurring the line between male and female was enough to leave audiences talking long after the curtain came down. Number 4. George Lippert having one healthy heart is something most of us never stop to appreciate. George Lippert was said to have 2. Whether every claim about his body was completely accurate is still debated. But one thing nobody questioned was the fully formed 3rd leg attached to his hip. It made him one of the most unusual performers of the 19th century. Appearing as the three-legged man, George traveled through dime museums before joining larger circus companies across Europe and the United States. Unlike many attractions of his era, he didn't rely on wild stories or dramatic speeches to impress a crowd. His calm manner and willingness to answer questions often left a stronger impression than the advertisements outside the tent. As entertainment changed, however, public interest slowly faded. Gangrene eventually forced doctors to remove his extra leg, and his final years were marked by hardship rather than fame. Even so, George's remarkable anatomy continues to stand among the rarest medical cases ever documented. Number 3. The Cardiff Giant. A nickname can sometimes become more famous than the person behind it. Just ask George Auger. Most people knew him as the Cardiff Giant, even though the name had nothing to do with the famous Cardiff Giant hoax. He earned it simply because he was born in Cardiff, Wales in 1881. Standing more than 7 feet 4 inches tall, Auger was already an unforgettable sight. But promoters couldn't resist stretching the truth, often advertising him as an incredible 8 feet 4. His life changed after he attended a Barnum and Bailey performance in England. Compared with Auger, the company's featured giant suddenly didn't seem quite so giant anymore, and it wasn't long before George received an offer to join the show himself. By 1903, he was performing across America, later starring in a vaudeville version of Jack the Giant Killer alongside the Horvath Midgets. He even appeared in Harold Lloyd's Why Worry, before his life was cut short in 1922. To admirers, though, he would always be remembered simply as Captain. Number 2. The four-legged woman. The first thing people noticed about Myrtle Corbin was her 4 legs. The second was how confidently she carried herself despite all the attention. Born in Tennessee in 1868 with an exceptionally rare condition called defied, Myrtle had 2 separate pelvises, each with its own pair of legs. News of her unusual anatomy spread quickly, and by the age of 13, she had joined the sideshow circuit, where curious crowds filled tents hoping to see her with their own eyes. Doctors were just as interested, studying her condition while audiences watched her move all 4 legs with surprising control. Yet the stage was only one part of her life. Away from the crowds, Myrtle married James Clinton Bicknell, who saw far more than the condition that made her famous. Together, they raised 4 kids and built a family life many never imagined possible. Number 1. Sylvia. The Elephant Girl. Some people spend their whole lives trying not to be stared at. Sylvia Portoris chose to face those stares head-on. Better known as the Elephant Girl, she found fame in America's traveling sideshows during the 1940s because of elephantiasis, a rare condition that caused her feet to grow to an extraordinary size. Her right foot was far larger than the left, making every step difficult, yet photographs from the time often show her standing calmly with a gentle smile. Before each performance, Sylvia spoke directly to the audience, explaining her condition in her own words before quietly adding, "It's God's will, and there's nothing I can do about it." That single sentence earned her something unusual in the sideshow world: respect. Unlike many performers who had little choice, Sylvia willingly stepped onto the stage and carried herself with dignity. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. We'll see you soon in the next one.